Well, this sounds like hell. There. What'd you say, Ariana?
Just a little sound there that we hear.
Well, anyway.
Well, why don't we, let's go to chapter 19. We'll work through the end, and then we'll start and go back to the ones that we didn't, because we're in the same...
Sure.
Same,
well, however you want to do it. I just wasn't sure if we had covered that point.
Oh. Well, in the spring of '63, the Supreme Court hands down this landmark ruling, which ordered all the federal courts to re-examine prior state convictions and make sure that the defendant's rights had not been violated. What did Bailey come to you and say that he wanted to appeal this on the basis of that? Was that...
Yes. Mr. Bailey had indicated previous to this that he felt that we had a strong case on a writ of habeas corpus. Thank you. Could I have another one of these things? When he first took the case, though he said the law has not been clarified on some of these points of publicity, he said there's no question of the fact that the jury made illegal phone calls, and that this was definitely something that denied my constitutional right of a fair trial. And he said in all cases that he had been able to research on this case, this point particularly, prejudice is presumed when a juror makes a phone call during deliberation which is not monitored on both ends. And he said he wanted to try the other tack first. He wanted to try to get cooperation from the state officials and obtain a polygraph test first and do it in a nice, refined, cooperative way. But he said if not, if we don't get anywhere, we're going to go to the Supreme Court of the United States if necessary, or at least go into the federal court system on a writ of habeas corpus. Now, he outlined this when we first talked, and it was very fortunate, I think, or certainly helpful, that the Supreme Court had the Gideon case and some of the other cases that they made decisions on, just as Mr. Bailey had decided, well, it's time we have to go ahead in the Supreme Court, since I was denied any consideration of clemency, and on the basis of oversleeping 3 times, which seemed ludicrous to say the least, if not anomalous. So, of course, he then, at the time that he was ready to submit the writ, he did come and appraise me of it, of course.
Well, and you had to make a decision, didn't you? Should you wait out the remaining year and a half of the minimum 10 years? Well,
there was no decision. Well, yes, but it was very easy to make. I told him to go to it.
And there was no question that you would rather serve out the year and a half and apply for parole?
Well, you see, I could be paroled while I was litigating the case, and even while on parole. And of course, under the sentence of second-degree murder in the state, this entails a life parole. So even on parole, I'm still essentially I'm still incarcerated technically.
Yeah, you should put out the points then, what it means to be paroled.
Well, parole is merely an honor incarceration. It's a state of being under full control of the officialdom of the state of Ohio, the rights, the right to vote and some of these things are not permitted. I would not be able to get married unless I had permission, which
No driver's license?
well, I could get a license if permitted, but everything had to be approved and okayed by the parole officer, and of course in my case I would imagine it would go right back to Brother Koblenz and some of the other assholes in the central government of Ohio, the police state of Ohio. And
So